And good afternoon. It is Wednesday, June 26th, just after 1:30 p.m. My name is Ryan Belmore, owner and publisher of WhatsUpNewp. Mr. Frank Prosich joins me. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We're going to keep the small talk to a minimum because you have a ton to get to today with our guest, who is Newport School Superintendent Colleen Jermain. First of all, happy summer.
Happy summer. It's officially summer. We're very excited. It's the busiest time of the year.
To expedite the conversations and so you guys can get as much info out as possible, I am going to step away and run. We're going to have some display items today, and so I will step back and let Frank take it from here.
All right. Thank you.
Well, why don't we get some of the stuff we always get to and get that out of the way first. How are we doing with Rogers construction? And then second half of that is, I guess, there's a proposal coming before the council tonight relative to funding.
Yes.
Maybe you could explain that a little bit.
Okay. The first thing is the Rogers project is moving along fast and furiously. If you haven't been by on Wickham Road, you need to take a drive by. The brick is going up. It's looking great every day. And we're very excited. A year from now, we're going to have the keys to the building. So we're very excited on that. Tonight, there is a resolution in front of the council. I'm not sure who wrote the resolution. I know the mayor and Charlie Holder, Council Ward 3 Council. I think it's 3. No, he's 2. Sorry. Holder are sponsoring it. And it's a resolution to award the school building committee approximately, I think it's $4 million, but it has some contingencies. And I know some people are wondering about that and want to know what that means, what that entails. So that's on the docket for tonight. That is more than what the co-chairs did ask for. We were just simply looking for $2.2 million by July 1, which is next week. And we just needed some kind of commitment from the council that they would help us with the cash flow going forward. So we asked for 2.2. We do have a different resolution with a different dollar amount before us tonight. And we're hoping tonight to hear from the council the reasons why, and hopefully just get our 2.2, but we'll see what happens tonight at the council meeting.
And how short are you right now for the project?
You can't quote me on the second part, but I think the co-chairs asked for 2.2 for now. And then if we did need any additional funding, I believe they put a maximum at about 6.4 if we needed that. But the 2.2 will enable us to get the temporary certificate of occupancy, which is what we really need to be able to move in to the building come next September of 2025.
So
go ahead.
Will that close the gap? And does that mean with that money, if you get that money, that in fact the project will be complete, or will there still be things that need to be done that will be additional costs?
We will, we still have some things to do, such as landscaping and fulfilling some of the things we have to do on the site work, but the building in itself should be in very good shape.
And where is the council suggesting that $4 million or the 2.2, where does that come from?
Well, the 4 million, if I understand the resolution correctly, the 4 million contingencies have that the school department must reduce its contingency fund to less than 3%. And where we are now, just for the general public, as we went through COVID, the school department, with full acknowledgement from the city council and others, we created 2 funds, an education fund to be able to move forward the support and work in our schools, and a contingency fund, which we never, ever had before. The contingency fund is to support, breakage, emergencies, repairs we need to do to our building. And the education fund was to help support our school buildings, our teachers, etc. It appears, and again, I need clarification tonight, It appears that this resolution is asking us to give up these funds, and then we will get and once we get below 3%, 3% of our total operating budget, they will then give us the $4 million. Again, the co-chairs were just asking for 2.2. That's why I think that tonight's meeting, hopefully we'll get more clarification on the whys. And the contingencies were that the money we spend down to get below or to that 3% or however we do it, we spend it on the school building project. So basically using, it appears, and I don't want to, the intent of this, it appears using our own funds to fund the building gap, but project gap, or do some emergency repairs and safety repairs at Thompson, which we already have in our contingency fund budget, and we have set aside funds for that. And the third one is kind of the one we're all, as superintendent, I'm kind of like, okay, what are they saying? Something about MLL teachers and reading teachers, restoring that. We did not lay off any MLL or reading teachers. So that's the clarification I need on what they're saying. And it's an or thing. It's not a, you must do this, you must do that, and this. It's you must do A, B, or C. So that's where we are.
One more quick question on that. A number of years ago, when the state passed the $250 million school building bond, coupled with that was a requirement by the legislature that each school district have at least or work towards at least 3% of their budget. I think it's 3% of their budget for maintenance. Yes. I presume none of this will affect that at all. And what is the percentage of the school budget that's in there for maintenance?
Well, what we are able to do, which a lot of other school districts are able to do, Frank, is we can use the money we're spending on the new Rogers High School to fulfill that state requirement. But to your point, we are also trying to make sure we are making sure we have a contingency fund, something we've never had before. That's why when we were looking at some kind of predictable funding, that's what we were doing. The other curious part about that in our education fund, I don't know if the general public is aware, we put in already into our operating budget for next year, we put in about $1.2 million. And then we asked the city if they could match that with a 4% increase, a little bit over $1 million. We put in of our own money into our operating budget because we're trying to avoid a cliff after coming out of COVID, and we'd rather have a slide. And the city wasn't able to make the 4%, but they did give us about $900,000. So the $1 million we have left in our education fund was to be used for our 25-26 budget to fill the hole. Because we put in 1.2 from our own money, 1 million over there, so that we could slide out. And then the following year, we just go back to some kind of predictable funding with the city and we'll be in good shape. But I don't know what's going to happen. So,
did you have a question?
I did not. I was just here to make sure you knew that I was here in case you need me to pull it up or pull it down.
Well, we're gonna do that. I think we're going to do that now because the big question on the board, your dispute with the Newport teachers, what is happening all across the state, has everything to do with multi-language learners. And as I understand it, Newport has the largest percentage of multi-language learners than perhaps all but maybe Central Falls. I'm not sure.
Well, what I think with the slide you have up in front of you right now. So this is something that came out in March of 24. And as a superintendent, we are watching the trending, as all of us are in all our school districts. I'm also on the working group for the multi-language learners going forward, because the three numbers, as it says here, three key numbers to remember are 1, 2, and 17 for Rhode Island. One is Rhode Island saw the greatest growth nationwide of the Hispanic population. And I think if you go to the next slide, I think Ryan's working slides. So you'll see right there, Rhode Island had the.
I've come a long way. I've come a long way. I'm the slide worker for the superintendent.
Okay, here we go.
Union
So
job.
Sorry, Rhode Island had the #1 growth in the nation. And full disclosure, I sent these ahead of time in case anyone wanted to understand the why behind what we're doing in our school system. So, so we had the #1 growth in the nation, and we have the 5th highest percentage of MLL students across all states. The only states higher than Rhode Island are Texas, California, New Mexico, and NV, Nevada. So that's the #1. So everyone has to keep that in mind. We had the largest #1 growth in the nation of MLL learners in public schools. And then the second one is #2. We doubled, if you look at this, Rhode Island has 2 times as many MLL students enrolled in our schools since school year of 2013. So in 2023, if you look at Newport right there, and Newport's on the second chart to the right, you'll see that back in 13-14, we had 81 students. Now we have, and this is in 23, we had 346, which we have more. We're still growing. So we have quadrupled in that area, and we've increased by 327%. Now, I have to say my director of multi-language learners, Dr. Ronnie Lee Mooney, has been great. We've been watching this, monitoring that. And I want to credit the teachers too. We had teachers, and we saw this happening, and teachers who were getting children that were multi-language learners, and they were going for the certification and the training and whatnot. So Newport has and is one of the best positioned school districts as far as having the number of staff we need to meet the needs of our students in our school district. So that's what it is. So, and the other thing is it's not a choice, it's a state mandate. I have to have those teachers that have that certification for our students. So we really had to put on our thinking caps, looking at the requirements we need to make sure we have the skill sets and the teachers in front of students that have these, that need these supports. And then the budget. So that's where the layoffs happened. Teachers that had ML certification were not laid off. They're still in our school district, and now they're going to be classroom teachers because they have an elementary certification and they have the MLL. So the children will get services all day and be with a teacher that has that skill set. That benefits all the students in the classroom, and all the students do not have to be pulled out anymore. And teachers, our classroom teachers, to give them a lot of credit, didn't like when their kids were getting pulled out because they were missing valuable core instruction. And then you'll see, this is just in general, this chart shows from school year 2018 to 19, we were at 9.9% of our students in the state were MLL. 23-24, we're at 13.5%. And that number is rising, and the trend is showing we are continuing to grow. And then if you can look at this chart, which some people are like, wow, if you just look at the total enrollment of students has started to decline in the state of Rhode Island, just like all other states across the country, just like everywhere else. But you'll see that the MLL enrollment continues to rise overall. So we have student population overall going down and MLL going up. And there you can see in that chart in our public schools what's happening. Again, I'm going to say not just in Rhode Island, it's happening nationwide. We've had a demographic shift, and I think most of the people listening or watching today are aware of that. And we're seeing it in our public schools, which is a great thing because we are a welcoming school community, welcoming state, country, and we appreciate it. And then you have the additional, this is just an example, but the largest increases in our multi-language populations in proportion to the rest of all other enrollments. Most were in urban ring. And for your listeners, what does urban ring mean? There are 4 urban communities: Central Falls, Pawtucket, Woonsocket, and Pawtucket, did I say it? Pawtucket, Woonsocket? Oh, and Providence. And then there are urban rings. Newport is considered an urban ring. We're smaller, but we have a lot of the characteristics of an urban community, very diverse. And we have growing populations across our student enrollment. So we're considered an urban ring. And then the next one you'll see is this is where the 17 comes in. Rhode Island's 17-year-old regulations were last updated in 2007 regarding MLL learners. And they're outdated and they're not in compliance with the federal law. And that is why RIDE is looking into what are the things we need to do to make sure we're in alignment with the federal law. And that's why we have working groups going on. And we're trying as quickly as possible to get people to understand the urgency of this toolkit, I'll say, and the skill sets we need for our teachers in the classrooms today. And I do appreciate so much all the teachers that have the certification. Like I said, we kept each and every one of them, and we're so appreciative to have them. And then the other thing is that going forward, we have, I know we have one cohort filled, taking the certification courses. They'll be finished in June. And we're trying to open up a second one. Roger Williams University has been a great partner with us. And I'm trying to get into them as well so that all of us are clearly aware of the things we need to do to serve the children that are in front of us today.
So many questions that I have that come out of all of that. Let me begin with the last one. What does it take to get certification?
There's a specific programs. There's different ways. One is Roger Williams University, who again, I credit Dr. Ronnie Lee Mooney. She's been partnering with Roger Williams for now the past 4 years. We've been offering it to our teachers and we pay for that certification program. And you can take that program. There's most of it is online. You have I'll say a sponsor that you reach out to. And then you also visit multi-language learner classrooms and you see some of the strategies that are being implemented in the classrooms. And then the second thing is you can get your master's in this. And we do. Over here at the high school, we have some teachers that did get their master's in multi-language learner, ESOL. So yeah, there's many ways. There are also strategies you can learn. But that is not the same as your certification because, as I stated, the state mandates that districts are to provide services and support from certified MLL teachers.
How long does it take to get the certification? And was that process offered to all teachers?
Yes, that process has been offered for about 4 years. And you start in I'm hoping I get in. If I start in June, July, I'll be done in June of 2025. It's a 1-year course.
And how many teachers actually have done that?
Ooh, I wish I could tell you off the top of my head. If I had, I would say we have at least maybe 17, possibly, that have the certification. But I'm telling you right now, that's my best guess. I don't have the exact list in front of me.
Is the state in the requirement for MLL certified teachers have a ratio between the number of MLL students and the number of teachers needed?
Yes, and it's no, but I'm gonna clarify something that people may not be aware. It's not necessarily the number of students; it's where the students are and their language acquisition level. So if you're a student, and we have an assessment the schools give every year, it's called the WIDA. And when you take WIDA, and when you take the WIDA, after you get your score, if you're a 1 or 2, that means you need a lot of support and to gain language acquisition. If you're a 3, 4, and 5, the amount of service time support you need goes down. So what we do and what we have been doing in our classrooms at the elementary level is we distribute so many students in each person's classroom that are multi-language learners. And we provide supports or pull out. And then we had people pull students out and set up their schedules that way. This way, we have the teachers in the classroom. They're with them all day long. And when you have an elementary setting, you have station rotation, you have small group settings. A lot of times they can work with children and they can interchange working with students during the day. The research shows the classroom teacher is the most effective impact for student achievement and learning. So, you'll have your 21 to 23 students, and that one teacher will be overseeing that support. If they're a level 1 or 2 and they need more support, we still have teachers that will go into the classrooms. They're not assigned to a classroom. They go into the classroom and they will support those children that need that additional support that it would be difficult for a classroom teacher to do. This past Monday, I had a town hall meeting at Conexion Latin, so I could meet with the Hispanic community and parents that have children in the schools to share with them the model, what's going on. Unfortunately, they had heard that we got rid of all our MLL teachers, and I'd be a little nervous if I heard that, if I were them. And I was able to clarify and answer a lot of questions for them. So we have promised going forward. We have a parent advisory group we started this year, but we're going to start specifically an MLL parent advisory group this year over at Conexion Latin. And I got to give a shout out to Martha for interpreting for me. Rebecca, Yoli was there, Marissa, Anna Gomes from our school system. They were all there to help and support. So I appreciate it so much. And we had a teacher there. Colleen was there to help support as well.
So explain to me a little bit, if I'm facing a classroom where I know clearly the predominant number of multi-language learners are Hispanic, but that doesn't preclude others. So you might have a student who may be Asian or something else. The MLL certified teacher has to be fluent in the language, or is it just maybe an approach to teaching?
It's an approach to teaching. You do not have to be fluent in the language. It helps if you are, but it's more about implementing specific strategies on how to, I'll say, front load a lesson or know what things to look for when you are doing instruction, depending upon the level of vocabulary you're using. Also, when you have a class, we are very careful about how many children, and we try to balance all our classrooms, whether it's multi-language learners, whether it's children maybe that need behavioral support, SEL support, whether it's children that have IEPs. We also do the gender thing. We do all of that when we look at that.
So I'm full of all these crazy questions. So U.S. News and World Report says that there's a very high level of poverty within the schools, more so than most districts in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. In taking teachers, perhaps those reading specialists or whatever, and moving them into the classroom, because I think that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. Does that in any way take any services away from those non-multi-language learners who have come from impoverished homes and still need some kind of support? I don't know if that makes any sense.
No. So I think what you're saying is, all right, so let's talk specifically about the reading teachers and literacy. So you are correct. The reading teachers, none of those teachers were laid off. All those teachers that are used to having like several small group, I'll say, sessions during the day, They are now classroom teachers, and they are the experts in literacy. So instead of just servicing the children that have been identifying, they'll be servicing all the students in the classroom using their skills and their expertise, because that is an area of great need for all our students in the Newport Public Schools, is literacy and reading. So the goal there is to have them implement the skills they already have, as well as all our teachers are required, and that was legislated a few years back, the science of reading. And that is the letter to sound connection on how to teach reading. That's very different than some of the teachers have been trained. I'm old school. I was trained in that way, letter to sound connections, decoding, phonics, all of the above. All teachers now, whether they're in elementary or secondary, they have to take that course as well. That's 10 hours. They have to take that. But all teachers have to relearn about teaching reading and about reading skills. So we're very fortunate. Quite a few, if not most of our elementary teachers have already taken the science of reading. I took the course too, because I felt it was important to know what they had to go through. It's intense. It's about 60 to 70 hours. And you go through a pacing thing that starts in August and you go all the way to the following May or June. You have exams and everything else. But in the end, you do walk away. For me, it was, just reminding us all the importance of the letter to sound connection, understanding we have to have our children learn how to decode letters. So those that are in poverty, those that have additional needs, SEL, for instance, social emotional learning, none of those supports have gone away. We've kept all of those. And as a matter of fact, some through the ESSER funding, as far as home connections, we've kept those because we found that that did help tremendously in our attendance. So none of those were impacted. I think the one thing, and after the meeting, I did speak to a parent. The one thing I think is very difficult for parents or others to understand is when you hear that two people are working with your child, for instance, I'll say on reading, then you think that, okay, so my child is getting more support. They're getting an extra. And I don't know if that's true from two different people, but in what way were they getting that extra? Because we are finding for the core instruction, the tier 1 instruction, we need every child to be in that classroom to hear that. So, and I did promise that as we go forward and we look at, the end of September, middle of October, and we look at where we are with how the children are doing, more importantly, how the teachers are doing with the shift and the coaching we will be providing throughout the year for them. We have a lot of PD for our teachers, and we're going to have other adults go into the classroom to model lessons and to help them, or just have them be able to kind of bounce off their ideas if they find, some challenges. We realize it's going to be a shift for everyone. And my directors are all going to be housed at Pell. My MLL director, my special ed director, and my director of teaching and learning will all be there as well. So we're going to have more boots on the ground in the classroom helping to support the teachers.
Colleen, I'm going to assume that you are not in a position to address specifically the claims of the dispute with the teachers union, which is now, as I understand, going to arbitration.
Right. We're going to arbitration right now. And basically, I think I can say this. I think each believes they followed the contract. And now we're going to have a third party take a look to see if we did or did not. So that's where we are.
And I assume that was a mutual choice for Frank Flaherty.
Yes. 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 When you go to arbitration, they usually give you a list, or, the other side, I think in this case, the other side made that suggestion and we agreed.
Yeah, but I've known him in the past. I think he's pretty fair. So it'll be interesting to see the outcome of that. And I presume that you want all of this resolved well in advance of the start of the school year.
Oh, yes, absolutely. As soon as we can. I think the most important thing is so people have their new assignments, people are moving into new classrooms, people are moving into everything, that has been assigned. We were able to bring back more teachers. We now have 10. We have 10 teachers that are still out on layoff, I believe, and even
From the
those.
16. From the initial
Pardon?
16. From the initial 16.
Well, we wound up in the end, I think we had 19, and we've brought back 9. And now we have about 10 more, and I believe it's 10. I either have 10 or I have 9 to bring back. But all I know is we're trying to work and look into different areas to see if there are some positions or jobs that we can offer, like building subs. We always need building subs. So we're looking into, and I'm working with my finance director to see if we can do something there. And at the same time, because they are our teachers, to see if we can, the salaries and everything else. So we have a lot of things like that. We're trying to be as supportive as possible and trying to bring back people, because that is the toughest job in the world. People have mortgages, people have bills to pay. And it's not an easy decision when you start doing this, but we have a budget. My role and responsibility is to look at the children we serve. And at the same time, it's a balancing act, support my staff as best as possible and to make sure everyone stays employed as best as possible. So there's a lot.
And I believe there were also 45 displacements. What's happening with those teachers?
Anyone that's been displaced has a job, so they're all in jobs. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to tune into the next chapter. That should be pretty good.
Every day is an adventure. You know that. I tell you that.
So we're taking up a lot of time. I just have one more question, and that may be most pressing, and that's, as you look forward, and you have this whole summer to deal with this, what are the greatest challenges that you see that you will be grappling with when September comes around?
The greatest challenges, I think.
Yeah.
Just supporting all our adults to be successful. I know we're ready to hit the ground running. Change is hard for everyone, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge. And communication. If anything, communication, how I can be better at communication as far as keeping people informed on what we're doing, why we're doing it, and thinking of different methods of reaching out. And that's why I'm so appreciative, Frank, to you and Ryan for having this opportunity to speak. But no, I think those are the biggest things. We just want Newport Public Schools to be a place where every child succeeds, reach his or her full potential, and is a great place where everyone wants to send their children, and people enjoy coming to work and they want to be here working with children. So
I lied. I have one more question.
Oh, okay.
So the superintendent of schools in Stonington, who I have on my radio show in Wesley often, gave me a homework assignment.
Oh.
Fortunately, she didn't give me a quiz afterwards. But it was to read the book, The Anxious Generation,
yeah,
which I have read and I found to be incredibly illuminating.
Yes.
And the biggest premise in that, of course, is that we have a generation of kids who have grown up with smartphones in their hands, in their brains, and really guiding their lives in a lot of ways in terms of social media. Does the Newport schools have a policy relative to smartphone use in the schools?
We do. And as a matter of fact, I know my committee chair and committee members want to review that. And they're, like other school systems, they're looking at ways we can limit cell phone use at the high school level, whether they're locked up at the beginning of the day and then at the end of the day. I'm going to say that one of our biggest challenges with cell phones, especially I'd say at the middle school level, is that parents are used to this. Parents are used to having every moment connection with their children. Very different from when I was in school. If I wanted to talk to my parent, I had to go to the office and ask to use the phone, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's another thing too. The ability to reach and speak to your children right away is something too. From a parent perspective, we have to talk to parents about it as well. I am familiar with the book. It's over there on my desk, along with my reading assignment is to read From Tinkering to Transformation. From Tinkering to Transformation. I should have had it next to me so I could hold
That's
it
right.
up.
We'll start a book club.
Yeah, start
Yeah, there
We'll
you
do
go.
this every month. We'll share a couple moments from it.
Tinkering to Transformation. Very, very
Before we lose you, somebody brought it up last month when we chatted, and we haven't spread the information. WhatsUpNewp hasn't, but I know Newport Public Schools is, and it is about the summer meals program. So I just want to bring that information up very quickly.
okay.
If you're anywhere in the state, you can call 211 for locations.
Yeah.
npsri.net will give you all of the locations to keep your children healthy, free
Yep.
meals during the summer. So I just wanted to bring this up because somebody did ask last time, and I said I would follow up.
And I brought my copy right here to share.
Excellent.
Can I share some good news before we go?
Yeah, we have all. I have the time. If you have the time,
I do. My next one's at 2:30. So, but I won't stay with you till 2:30. I'll let you guys have a break. I just want to. Some of the things I want to say we're very proud of, and one of the first is the plea. That was Parents Leading Equity in Education, and I don't know if you remember, we had 14 parents complete that program this year, which is powerful. They now are active participants in school decisions. They participate. They are more involved with their schools. They sit on their school improvement teams. They go to their PTO meetings. We had our TMS students just going down memory lane. If everyone remembers, they went to New Orleans with Taylor Rock to bring their presentation for the mini boat program. They worked with URI. The girls soccer team, we won the states. Our unified team won the states. We have the senior, leadership awards, Adrian Lockhart. I wrote a list today for you, Alexander Toribio. 2 students, amazing. They're already cosmetology people. They have their licenses. They can go to work right away. Luisa Rodriguez and Janice Evans. And then the NACTEC cybersecurity team, 14th in the nation in the cyber Skyline Power Rankings. And Amadeus, I got to remember how to say his name, Amadeus Witt placed 47th out of 1,210 competitors, number 47 in the country. Our TMS orchestra was by Brianna DeWitt. She did an amazing job. They were recognized nationally. We have our attendance rates in all 3 schools went up. And Rogers, it's not out yet, but I believe Rogers is in the top 3 for improvement statewide. Rogers did an unbelievable job for attendance. They did a great job, and kudos to Principal Vance, Assistant Principal Monahan, Ms. Falcarelli, the teachers, everyone for that. That's a huge one. And New England track and field, we had competitors, Caden Thomas, he finished 16th in the New Englands. Laura Hogue placed 21st in the 800. Deslean Robles, 24th in the hundreds. This is all in the New Englands. Jakari Medina, 26th. And Travis Burrows finished 29th in the triple jump. So those are New Englands, not state, New Englands. And then the RHS band, I think you saw it, they placed first in the music festival in Connecticut. So those are my...
on npsri.net, there's all sorts of good news on there as well. So, and you can keep up with what the students are doing.
Yep. And we had 16 students at Rogers High School with perfect attendance, 1 at Thompson and 2 at Pell. So they will be receiving something in the mail from the superintendent. So we are very proud of them and
We'll all
excited.
find a brand new Lamborghini in their driveway.
I wondered if we could have a raffle or something for them, but no, that was those are all good things. So we got a lot of great things happening here,
Good.
and you're going to have bumps in the road here and there, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it. It's all about the kids, the community, and we'll all come together in the end. By
And I
God.
was going to ask you to tell me something good at the end, but I was worried about the time. But I'm glad you came prepared today.
I came prepared.
Yes. All right. Well,
right.
Superintendent, we appreciate it, and we will chat with you in the month of July.
All right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Happy 4th.
All right. Happy 4th of July. That is Superintendent Colleen Jermain. We appreciate her joining us today for just about 45 minutes.
I think it was I'm really glad we spent the time on multi-language learners because it's such a huge piece. And I would urge people, if they have an opportunity, to take a look at the U.S. News and World Report, and you can search for their high school ratings in Rhode Island. And these are not just paragraphs, but it really drills down, and you get a pretty good picture of what your community looks like. And it's really interesting. I think in Newport as a tale of two cities. You know, this is the time of year tourists are flocking in. We get all these ratings when it comes to tourism areas, and we have all of that stuff going on in our schools. We're dealing with 70% poverty. We're dealing with a very large number of multi-language learners. Not a bad thing, but just a reality. And so those challenges are there versus what people may see, I'll call it superficially, in all of these things that are great and important for the community. But it's a whole different world.
And I also want to point out, as we do, I think, just about every election season, because we're about to head into one, is even city council meetings, you're gonna hear where systems are lacking or schools are lacking a whole lot more than when you're gonna hear about them winning. And I appreciate the superintendent telling us some good news, because let's remember these students hear everything we say, or a lot of them hear a lot of what we say, and it has an effect on them. So there are good things in the school system. Yes, there's the dispute between the teachers union and the superintendent. Yes, there's a dispute over funding Rogers High School. There's a fight over a dirt pile, but there are lots of good things, and let's not forget about that.
So I can just advise people real quickly. In political season, you are going to hear a lot of stuff. Some of it's going to be fact. Some of it's going to be fiction. And there's a lot of responsibility on the voter to try and try to ferret that out a little bit, and to see what is fact and what is fiction. And really, when somebody knocks on your door and asks for your signature on a nomination paper, ask them questions. Don't just sign it. Ask them questions. Find out who they are, what they believe in, and whether or not you feel that they have the integrity that you want to see in office.
And we will be taking the time to help you get to know those candidates over the next several months. More information to come about that. All right, Mr. President. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. On behalf of Frank and myself and all of us here at WhatsUpNewp, we want to thank Superintendent Colleen Jermain for joining us today. She joins us on the last Wednesday of every month around 1:30. And if you missed any portion of this conversation, want to watch it again, want to share it, whatever you might want to do with it, all available on WhatsUpNewp.com. Thanks for watching.